Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast, everyone. We are diving into Clover Health today.
CLOV.
CLOV,
Yeah.
ticker symbol, right. They're making waves in the Medicare Advantage space. And, CLOV has been on a roll lately.
Oh, yeah.
Hit a new 52-week high just the other day.
January 24th, 471.
471 a share, which is wild when you think about it. That's a surge of over 380%.
In just 1 year?
In a year. Crazy, right? But along with all this excitement, there's some caution out there too. Some analysts are saying CLOV might be, maybe a little overvalued.
Yeah, it's interesting. You see that push and pull happening, right? On the one hand, you've got CLOV showing really strong performance. They're growing, especially in that Medicare Advantage market. But then you have this question hanging over it all.
Yeah.
Is the stock price really matching the company's value? Lots of investors are asking that right now.
So it's a good story, but a little bit of a possible warning sign flashing too. Let's break it down for our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with CLOV. What's driving this growth? What's caught everyone's eye?
Well, their growth in Medicare Advantage has been really impressive. I mean, it's hard to ignore. They announced a 27% increase in their membership year over year.
Wow.
And they crossed that 100,000 member mark. That's hard to ignore, especially in healthcare. That's a competitive space.
Absolutely. And they're not just adding members, right? I mean, they're getting recognized for the quality. They got a 4-star rating for their PPO plan.
Yeah.
Covers a big chunk of their members. What does that rating mean in real life?
4 stars is a big deal. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Shows they're serious about quality care. And importantly, it means more money for CLOV.
Okay.
Higher rating means they get more back from Medicare in 2026. That makes them more attractive, to investors at least. They like to see that solid financial ground.
So growing fast, getting good marks for quality, but are they actually, making money doing this? Are they burning through cash? Or are they being careful? Our listeners want to know if this growth is going to last.
The big question, right. And the good news is CLOV seems to be finding that balance between growth and being smart with money. They've put in some cost controls, which is showing up in their medical care ratio.
The MCR.
Right, the MCR.
Yeah.
Went down a lot, from 91.8% in 2022 to 81.2% in 2023. They're getting more efficient. That's good for the long term.
Okay, so hold on. They're adding members, they're getting better quality ratings, they're controlling costs. It's like all good news, right? But I remember you mentioned the overvaluation thing. How do those two things fit together?
Yeah, that's the key point, isn't it? Those good things are pushing the stock price up.
Right.
But some analysts are saying, hold on, maybe things are getting ahead of themselves. They look at something called the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. It's basically a momentum indicator. And CLOV's RSI right now is 87.2.
That's 7.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it like a car. You're driving down the highway. Anything over 70 on that RSI, it's like you're in the red zone. Means the stock might be, I don't know, overheating a bit.
So it's going strong, but it might be time for like a pit stop.
Could be due for a slowdown, maybe even a pullback.
So even with all the good stuff, this RSI thing is suggesting that the stock price might be getting a little too far ahead of itself.
Yeah, at least in the short term.
Okay. We need to unpack that a bit more for our listeners.
Absolutely.
To help them understand what it all means.
It's like this tug of war between how well the company is actually doing and how the market sees its value.
Yeah.
That's what makes this so interesting for investors, I mean.
Right. Trying to decide whether to buy, sell, hold.
Exactly.
This is why people listen to our show, right?
Hopefully.
Compelling growth story, good signs on the financials, but a couple of, yellow flags waving too. It's a classic investing situation. We're going to keep digging into it.
One of the interesting things about CLOV, is they're really into technology.
Right.
Specifically, their AI platform, Clover Assistant.
Yeah, it's not your typical healthcare company just, crunching numbers. It's interesting.
No, they're trying to innovate.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading about Clover Assistant. It's supposed to help doctors with diagnoses and managing chronic diseases. But I got to admit, some of that tech stuff goes over my head.
Sure.
Can you give our listeners an idea of what it's like in a doctor's office? I mean, how's it different?
So picture this. A doctor seeing a patient, complex medical history.
Yeah.
Clover Assistant is like this really smart assistant, analyzes records, flags potential risks. It can even suggest treatments, personalized ones, based on the latest research.
Right.
Like having a whole team of specialists right there.
Right.
Helping doctors make decisions faster, more informed decisions. That's what they're betting on. This AI, the data analysis. That's how CLOV thinks they'll stand out.
So it's not just saving money, it's better healthcare, potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah, it's a powerful story for investors too.
It is.
But let's talk competition. The Medicare Advantage market is packed, right?
Oh, yeah, it is.
So where does CLOV fit in with the big guys like Humana and United Healthcare?
It's definitely competitive. CLOV is not afraid of it, though.
Okay.
Maybe they're taking a page from the David and Goliath story.
Okay.
More targeted, more agile. The big players have the scale, but CLOV is focusing on specific markets, specific demographics. They use their tech to tailor their offerings,
Yeah.
build that loyalty, like a startup going up against the giants.
And with startups, there's risk. We talked about the RSI and maybe being overvalued.
Yeah.
But what else could slow them down? What should investors watch out for?
I'd say execution. They've got a good plan, but can they pull it off? Investors are going to be looking at those membership numbers. Can they keep growing like that? And Clover Assistant, how are doctors using it? Any signs of trouble there? The stock could take a hit.
It's like investors are saying, we like the story, prove it.
Yeah, basically.
And speaking of proof, let's talk about financials. What should we be looking at to know if CLOV is healthy?
The medical loss ratio is a big one. The
Yeah.
MLR tells you how much of their revenue is going to paying for medical care.
Okay.
Lower is better there.
Yeah.
Means they're keeping costs down. Good for profits. CLOV's been doing better with that, but something to watch. Any big jumps in the MLR could be trouble.
So it's not just growth, it's got to be profitable growth.
Right.
Makes sense. One thing we haven't talked about yet is market sentiment. That feeling in the market can really move a stock.
Oh, for sure.
What could swing things for CLOV, good or bad?
Yeah, market sentiment, it's fickle. For CLOV, good news about membership growth would help. Or, if Clover Assistant is really working, maybe they announce a partnership with a big healthcare provider. Things like that could boost confidence.
Push the stock up.
Exactly. On the other hand, if their growth slows down, or there are regulatory issues or bad news about the technology, that could scare investors, lead to a sell-off.
So they're walking a tightrope.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
One wrong step and there could be consequences.
Makes it exciting though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Investing.
It's all data analysis and gut feeling and a little bit of calculated risk.
And with a company like CLOV trying to change healthcare, it's even more exciting.
Definitely.
But got to be careful.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Got to look at the rewards and the risks. Be realistic.
Good advice. So for our listeners thinking about CLOV, what should they take away from this? What should they be thinking about?
First thing, do your homework. Don't just go off headlines or what you hear on podcasts. Really look at their financials. Understand how they make money. See who they're up against.
Look at the whole market too, right?
Exactly. Does CLOV fit with your investing style and how much risk you're okay with?
Yeah.
CLOV is still growing. There's going to be volatility. Are you comfortable with that?
It's not just the numbers either, right? It's about believing in their vision for healthcare.
Right.
With technology.
Right. That's a powerful story. But, stories don't always mean profits.
Sure.
So do your research, weigh everything, and make your own decision.
Great advice. This has been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot about Clover Health, their growth, their technology, the risks, the rewards. But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something. We've talked big picture, Clover Health, CLOV, the growth, the tech, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it all mean for, the average investor? Someone trying to make good decisions with their money.
Right. Gets down to that, doesn't it? All this analysis.
Right.
But it's about what you actually do with the information. If you're looking at CLOV, thinking about investing, the first thing is, does it fit how you like to invest?
Because this isn't like a slow and steady stock,
Mhm.
right? It's got a lot of buzz, a lot of potential, but we keep saying it's volatile.
Yeah. If you're the kind of investor who likes stable companies, dividends, that kind of thing, CLOV is going to keep you up at night. But if you're okay with more risk, you're looking for the big payoff and you're in it for the long haul, then maybe CLOV is worth a deeper look.
And even more than with some companies, it seems like really understanding their business is key. We talked about their tech, but how well they do with it, their costs, that's make or break, isn't it?
It's not just liking the idea of tech in healthcare. You got to get into the nuts and bolts. Clover Assistant, how are doctors using it? Are they finding it helpful? Is it actually leading to better care for patients and saving CLOV money?
Show me the results, or like we said. But even if someone decides CLOV is not for them, you got to admit, it's a company to watch, trying to change a huge industry.
Oh, for sure. Healthcare's changing. Technology's a bigger and bigger part of it, and Clover Health's right there in the middle. Investor or not, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
So for our listeners, let's try to sum this up. Clover Health, CLOV, they're all about growth. Using tech to shake up the Medicare Advantage world, they've got a lot going for them. But it's not a sure thing.
No, lots of momentum with the stock, but that overvaluation question is still there. The technology's got potential, but it comes down to execution. And competition is tough.
So do your research, know how much risk you can handle, think about all those things before jumping in.
And remember, investing always has risk. No guarantees. But that's part of what makes it, exciting.
Well said.